it has been over 3 years
Yeah.
since the Russell Wilson trade, and this predates Seahawks Sessions.
Yes, it does.
February. What was
Few
it?
days,
February.
right?
What was it?
By a few days.
Yeah.
Nice. Anyway, so the Russell Wilson trade was over 3 years ago,
Yes.
and I remember when it happened. I remember where I was here. John, who was one of the co-hosts of Time to BS at the time, we did an episode about the trade. At the time, I said, I'm not surprised that the trade happened. I'm disappointed that it did happen. When I saw the compensation, I'm not going to lie, I said, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate your honesty here because I was the same way. I was not happy about this. I was really broken up about it because I was thinking at that time, you got to remember, we're not looking, and at that time, Russ had that one injury-plagued season in Seattle. Right. But other than that, he had been roses in Seattle.
He missed, I think it was most of his final season in Seattle with the broken finger.
Yep.
Right.
And then he had an MCL sprain or tear, partial tear in 2016.
Yeah.
After it was at the Niners, week 2 against the 49ers, where Trevon Boykin took over for the remainder of that game, and then he played the rest of the season on one leg.
With that knee brace. Yeah.
Unbelievable how he did that. But it's thinking back on it, I think it was either Jody got involved or I said, okay, John, do something. Because we know the reports. We know the articles that have since come out.
Yes.
Since Russ was traded.
Yeah.
And if you have not seen the week 1 game where Russ did come back for his first game with Denver, the boos were not surprising.
Yeah.
And
if you're a Seahawks fan and you didn't watch that game, then you should have your membership card revoked.
So
I watched that one.
It was a great game. I'm not going to lie. I almost bought tickets to that game.
Oh, wow.
I was going to fly to Seattle for that. I was going to buy tickets to Seattle. I was going to take a friend of mine with me. We're going to go to that game, and it was going to be my first Seahawk game. And it was the Russell Wilson return because, and the reason was because my Islanders childhood hero, John Tavares, I was at his first game back at the
when he
Nassau,
went to Toronto.
When he went to Toronto, and his first game back at Nassau Coliseum since signing the Maple Leafs. That crowd was rowdy. And I was going to fly to Seattle to go watch that game live, and I couldn't because of timing and pricing and everything else, but whatever. It was the hostility. But at the same point, you don't blame the fans.
No. There had been a lot of stuff that was coming out, but I remember I was vocal because the Russell Wilson trade predates this show, but I had just started my tenure with Ryan, and he asked me about it. And I remember I said, if you boo Russell Wilson after everything he has done for the city and everything, that I was very, very supportive of Russell Wilson at that moment. But I want to take you both back and see if you remember, because I remember the stories around the time. I was very shocked that Russ went because I thought there were rumblings that Pete Carroll's offense is outdated. It can't compete in the modern NFL. There's a power struggle in Seattle. It's going to be Russ or Pete. And people were predicting that Russ was going to come out on top because at that time he was a quarterback. And what do you have if you don't have a quarterback in today's NFL? You have nothing. So I thought that Pete was going to be the one that lost out.
And player empowerment was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Back at that time. Not as much nowadays because thanks NBA, it's proved that player empowerment can ruin teams.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it nowadays. And you're right, Dustin. You're absolutely right. Russell Wilson went behind the backs of Pete Carroll and John Schneider, went to the owner, Jody Allen, and said, I want you to fire Pete and John. That report has been confirmed. There have been hundreds and hundreds of articles that have come out about Russ and his. Long story short, a lot of bridges are burned.
He did burn them.
A lot of bridges are burned. And so much so that you got, when Russ was traded, you started to see a lot of ex-Seahawks come back.
Mm-hmm.
Doug Baldwin came to training camp.
Yeah.
Sherm came to training camp. Cam Chancellor. And he doesn't hate anyone.
Yeah.
Came to training camp.
Right. He'll hit you till you can't see, but he doesn't hate you.
And KJ Wright, who was with Seattle Sports Radio of ESPN, even he was like, I'm blown away by this discovery, because it clearly showed that Russ was not only trying too hard to fit in with one of the guys, it also showed that he thought he was bigger than what he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which that sucked. It sucked because, again, he still is unquestionably on the Mount Rushmore of Seahawk football.
Yeah, for sure.
Without question.
Absolutely.
Without question. It's him, Walter Jones, Steve Largent, and you can make a very good argument for Kenny Easley.
Yeah, and I would put Cortez Kennedy up on
Cortez Kennedy has to be on there.
Put Cortez up there.
Cortez or Kenny Easley, because they both won Defensive Player of the Year. Easley in 84, Cortez in 92? 91?
I'm trying to remember. I got to
somewhere in there.
I think it was 92. I was in the 90s. It was in the 90s. Cortez Kennedy won Defensive Player of the Year in 1990. Final answer 92.
And that's when they weren't even a good football team.
Oh, they were horrible. They were horrible in the 90s.
That's right. Yeah. And so if someone was to come to me after they won the Super Bowl and said, "Hey, you're one of those, get on the bandwagon," and I would get away from me. All right.
Yeah.
I was with them in the 90s when they were straight
horrible.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Believe me, Cortez Kennedy won Defensive Final answer 92. Was that correct?
92 is correct.
92 was correct.
Yeah.
So, and I believe the Seahawks won 3 games that entire year.
Yeah, I wasn't with them quite that far back because I wasn't watching football back then. But when
of the story, though, Russ is on the Mount Rushmore of Seahawk football.
Yeah, for sure.
Not even close.
And if you want to talk Mount Rushmore of Seahawks quarterbacks, he is the Mount Rushmore. The only other person that you could put on there is Jim Zorn, because he started it all for the Seahawks. And you could put on Matt Hasselbeck. I would put Matt Hasselbeck on that QB rush.
In 1992, the Seahawks were 2-14.
I was close. 2
and 14.
And he won the Defensive Player of the Year.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was. May he rest in peace. By the way, the late great Cortez.
That's right. That was one of the more shocking deaths that I remember reading about.
Oh yeah. So Russ did burn a lot of bridges his way out, and he tried to be bigger than the franchise in his next home in Denver.
Yeah, and we saw what happened when he was given that control. By a coach who was clearly ready to let him do anything. Now that coach, Nathaniel Hackett dug his own grave by not practicing his ones at all in the preseason, and there were other things that came out. Nathaniel Hackett did not help his case, but Russell Wilson, he was given a long leash in Denver, and it did not work out well.
And when they brought in Sean Payton, I remember texting friend of the show, Air Raid Attack Podcast, Michael McClintock, I remember, who's a big Broncos fan. I even texted him and said, "You got your coach. Mm-hmm. You got your coach." And when they released Russell Wilson, who, by the way, signed a 4-year deal or 5-year deal, $245 million.
Yeah,
do the freaking math, and you began to see, hey, maybe it may not be worth paying all of these quarterbacks that much money. Yeah, and I believe it started with Russ.
Still haven't learned that lesson.
Yeah,
Brock
You're
Purdy.
paying Dak Prescott $65 million.
At $60 million, close enough, but yes, I hear you on that.
Okay,
yeah.
60.
It was 60.
The just throw an extra $5 million. Who cares?
Whatever. $5 million for each playoff win. Anyway, but Kevin, where were you when the trade was announced?
I was here in Texas, and
after the dinosaurs,
and
it's a great running joke.
I think where things started to go downhill with him, because remember that last contract he signed with the Seahawks, right? And he wasn't even up for a contract as of yet. And he, just pretty much, he laid at home, and he was like, "Well, I'm not doing anything until I get a contract." And the Seahawks relented and gave him that deal. And things, ever since that deal happened, hasn't gone well for him. Yeah. And so I think that he at that moment, probably rightfully so, he thought he was king of the world. Everything. Well, why wouldn't he think that? The Seahawks acquiesced to his demand when they didn't have to do it.
I think you can also point to the Let Russ Cook movement.
Yes, the Let Russ Cook. Which he put up numbers.
In his defense, in his God-honest defense, we've discussed this before, all three of us. We've discussed this, the stubbornness of Pete, and how he believed that Russ had his limitations, which to a degree he was right. But at the same point, it was, you have an offense. Russ was your entire offense.
He was.
By a mile.
He was, but also I would say when Marshawn was there and in his prime, Marshawn was as big of a
did help.
Yeah.
Marshawn did help.
Yeah.
Marshawn did help a lot. But
especially in those early Russell Wilson years, you could see Marshawn build a lot of things out. And Russ build a lot of things out with his leg, which after 2016, he couldn't really do anymore.
He couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But Dustin, where were you when the trade was announced?
The trade, when it was announced, I believe I was at work and I was shocked because, like you, I was incensed, and I'm saying, Drew Lock, we're gonna Drew Lock. I'm like, Drew Lock's gonna be the starter, and at that time, I'm looking and I'm thinking, Geno Smith, we're gonna roll with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Now the picks. I was excited about the picks, but the players that we got back, I wasn't necessarily excited about.
That's the other thing, man. The players that they got back, aside from Noah Fant and to a degree, Shelby Harris.
Yeah, but Shelby Harris played well for us, but then he left and went to Cleveland, did he not? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
You are correct. You are correct, actually, from my memory. He was released after 1 year with the Seahawks and then signed with Cleveland. He's now the Browns' defensive tackle, I believe. Hope to God I'm wrong.
Even Noah Fant, the Seahawks haven't known what to do with a tight end.
Yeah,
hopefully until this year, which is another conversation that I've heard talking about whether or not the Seahawks are going to play a 2 tight end offense.
We'll get to that later, but anyway, we'll get to that. We'll probably get to that next week. But anyway,
that's a good topic for next week. Yeah,
but it's you were at work. You were like, Drew Lock, what?
Yeah, Drew Lock, I remember because back then there was a show that I went on because they were talking about the NFC West, and preview, and they wanted me on there because of course I'm Seahawks.
Yeah.
And my picks to be the starting quarterback were Smith or Drew Lock. And I'm like, will they win 5 games this year?
Yeah.
And of course, I turned out to be absolutely wrong.
We all were.
Everybody involved, because the whole nice story about Smith and the redemption story and everything that happened with that.
Yeah.
But that off season, I was like,
huh?
I could be the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks and be better than Drew Lock.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here we are 3 years later, and we still know that's true.
And Drew Lock has returned.
Couldn't, because he got a second chance, and he got, where did he get kicked to? I don't even know.
He couldn't beat out Geno for the job, but they did have a very complimentary relationship with each other, apparently.
Yep.
But Drew Lock is now back in Seattle. He is.
He's the
okay. That's right. Because they got rid of the Washington Commander dude, and who went to Minnesota.
Sam Howell. Yep.
Sam Howell, who I expected much more out of.
Oh my God, the Sam Howell train that was running for Sam Howell should be the starter over Geno Smith. Well, we proved that wrong.
Yeah, we saw what happened in the Green Bay game.
Well, I wasn't going that far, but I thought there was some potential with him.
Yeah.
Because he got sacked like 890 times.
Yeah.
That last year he was in Washington.
He also played some really good ball in North Carolina in college. He played some really good ball with the Tar Heels. But anyway, regardless, it was
that's way beyond the beside the point right there. But
Russell Wilson, at the time, I was like, okay, the likelihood of getting a Hall of Famer at quarterback again, is slim to none.
Yes,
you can't. It's not going to be Green Bay where you go back-to-back Hall of Famers with Favre and then Rodgers.
Yeah,
unlikely to happen. And I thought the cracks were starting to show because not only was the reports of Russ going behind to Jody were coming out, but there was also reports of John Schneider was very interested in Josh Allen. And the year after that, Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, so he was already planning. He was already planning to try to get
give John Schneider a lot of credit, and we know not only have sometimes we have trashed John every now and then, but the clip of Jackson Bevins trashing that man is pretty popular across Twitter. Pretty popular. And Jackson says what he says about John, but to give John a lot of credit, he wanted to move on from Russ because he saw his limitations, and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were the shiny new toys potentially for the Seahawks. And since then, he has been proven right, weirdly enough. Patrick Mahomes is a 3-time MVP, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Josh Allen, reigning MVP.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what you hit the nail on the head when you said the likelihood of finding a Hall of Fame quarterback, because I remember saying to the vice president at my office, she and I talk football every once in a while, and I said, they got rid of a future Hall of Famer, because say what you want, a lot of people are going to look at Russell Wilson with Steelers glasses. They're going to look at him with Broncos glasses, which I will call out Sean Payton.
That's right.
His second year in Denver, Russ had him in contention.
Go, Dustin, go.
He had him in contention, and then
26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. I don't want to hear it from you.
He still had him, and he still had one of the better deep balls in the NFL at that time. And Sean Payton comes to him and says, "We're going to bench you for Jarrett Stidham." It was a contract thing, and nothing else. They wanted to release him, and that's what they did. But at the time when this trade was done, Russell Wilson was on a trajectory to be in the Hall of Fame based on what he had done already in his career. If you look at the comps of his Seahawks career, Tom Brady is the one that stacks up and others. So I will say something controversial right now.
Go for it.
Probably a lot of people's opinions. no matter what Russell Wilson does with the Giants this year, when he finishes his career, he's got a shot at the Hall of Fame because of what he did with the Seahawks alone. And that's the lens. That's the lens that you have to, if you're going to travel back in time. That's how a lot of Seahawk fans were feeling. That's why we were pissed off, because if you look at it now with the benefit of hindsight, Pete Carroll looked like a genius at the time because he was proven right. And they kept Pete, and I would argue it extended his career in Seattle. They gave him extra time because they kept saying, well, he was right about Russ.
And then it kind of felt like the opposite, which was Russ was bailing out Pete.
Yeah.
Because we've seen in a lot of the games during Russ's last couple of years where it felt like Pete was making stupid decisions and not adjusting to the defensive scheme of today's NFL at the time.
Yeah.
And Gino also bailed him out a little bit too.
Yeah, because Gino has mobility. People don't, but
Gino had his moments. Gino has his moments. He does.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the argument of, if you were to go back in time and tell yourself, okay, where is this going to go with the Russell Wilson trade? Is it going to go to 5 more years of Pete, or is it going to go to, hey, maybe rebuild? I think about 90% of Seahawk fans would have said rebuild.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, because you don't trade a Hall of Fame quarterback like that unless if it's a rebuild. And at the time, maybe it should have been. Maybe it didn't need to be. But, again, give Schneid's a lot of credit. JS, give John Schneider a ton of credit because the ball was in his court and he adjusted. He adjusted perfectly. Almost damn near to a T.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully. And it's one of those where you look back and you go, what could have been?
Yeah.
When 2014.
Oh, yeah.
What could have been? Yeah,
ultimately what could have been.
Let's leave that, completely in the closet where it belongs.